Hi class, welcome again to another session on digital principles in system design. So we were discussing interconnected resources last time before I ran out of time. So let us continue discussing that and then we shall move on further with our architecture. So interconnected resources, the next one to discuss is the long lines. Excuse the reversing sound. Long lines cover the entire array both horizontally and vertically. They drive low skew and high fan-out control signals. These vertical lines have a programmable splitter that segments them and allows them to operate as two independent routing channels covering half of the arrays. The routing sources are exploited automatically by the routing software. So this is all available in your programming software. So there are 8 low skew global buffers for clock distribution as well. The signals that drive the long lines are buffered. So long lines can be driven by adjacent CLBs or IOBs. IOBs is their input output buffers and may connect to 3-state buffers that are available to CLBs. Long lines provide 3-state buses as well. So that is within the architecture and implement wired AND logic. So each horizontal line is driven by a 3-state buffer and can be programmed to connect a pull-up resistor, so which pulls the line to logic 1 if no driver is asserted to that line. So this is basically to make sure that signal communication occurs without any hindrance. So the IOBs or the input output blocks, or input output boxes or input output buffers, whichever way you want to call them. So they have, and every I/O pin has a programmable IOB that has buffers for compatibility with TTL and CMOS signal levels. I'm sure by now you would have understood what is TTL, which is transistor logic, and CMOS is complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So these are two types of architectures that are available, and I'm sure you'd have understood the difference between the two by now. So in order to make sure that our FPGA system is not bothered by what kind of logic the other circuitry that are giving it inputs or receiving outputs from it is made up of, we have compatibility buffers which ensure that the IO line is compatible with whatever input or whatever output is received. So an IO buffer can be configured as an input, and it can have direct latch or registered input, and the output can be configured such that it has either direct or registered output. So this is the diagram, or the block diagram of how your IO block would look like. You have the input clock here, the output clocks here, and then you have a flip-flop here, and then you have the slew rate control and the passive pull up or pull down resistors and so on. So this is how your IO block in an FPGA system would look like. The output buffer of an IO block also has skew and slew control. So the registers available to the input and the output path of an IOB are driven by separate invertible clocks, and also there's a global set reset. The internal delay element compensates for the delay induced by the clock signal, and this allows to eliminate any hold conditions on the data on the external pin. So it just ensures that communication occurs as soon as there is a data. So the 3-state output of an IOB puts the output buffer in a high impedance state. Excuse the yelping dog, I'm so sorry about it. The output and the enable of the output can be inverted as well. The slew rate of the output buffer can be controlled by minimized transient on the power bus when non-critical signals are switched. So you have certain signals which are very, very critical, and we have certain signals which are okay. I mean, they are signals for sure, but they are not as critical as some of the other signals. The IOB pin can also be programmed for a pull up or pull down to prevent needless power consumption and noise. So this basically ensures that with minimal power consumption, maximum efficiency is achieved with using your FPGA system. Also, you have enhancements. You have a system and you want it to be, you have an Android phone and we regularly update Android to enhance the features, right? So similarly, you have enhancements in your FPGA chips as well. So embedded soft cores can be accommodated in Spartan chips, and features such as on-chip distribution, dual port, synchronous RAM, etc. can be implemented. It can be used to implement FIFO shift register, first in first out shift register, and scratchpad memories as well. There are blocks that can be cascaded by any width or depth and can be located anywhere, but their usage reduces the CLB available for logic use. So if you choose to have more memory, then you'll have less CLBs. The structure of the on-chip RAM that is formed by programming a lookup table to implement a single port RAM with synchronous write and asynchronous read. So dual port RAM can also be implemented in a Spartan system, and that has a single common write port and couple of asynchronous read ports. So the CLB in this configuration can have a maximum of 16x1 memory. So this is how your dual port Spartan structure looks like. So it has two 16x1 memories, and then you have the write select, write row select, and then the write control and the read out for one block, and the same for the other block. So this is like a distributed RAM structure, but it's just two distributed RAM structures. So this is the dual port RAM in Spartan system. I think that's all I have to speak about Spartan with you. I shall see you again with another video. I hope you take care till then.